Life isn't only black and white. Somewhere in the grey lies the truth, where perspectives collide and stories connect. Welcome to the Black, White and Grey podcast.
Welcome. So today we are talking about tradition or trauma. How we were raised stops working.
That's a mad one still.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was thinking actually a good idea and way to start this is sort of, for the topic of conversation, is sort of at what point does "this is how I was raised" stop being an explanation and start being an obstacle?
That's a really good one. Actually.
Well, yeah, definitely.
Based on the beatings that I got.
We say that a lot, isn't it? This is how I was raised.
As humans, we say that a lot, definitely.
Yeah.
How about when our parents, I don't know how you grew up, but our parents used to just let me out the house for hours on end.
Sorry.
Well, they just got rid of me.
Well, from what age? You know, we got some context.
I remember like 9 years old, you just play outside.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, definitely. That happened in my life as well, but it was safer to play outside.
Where did you grow up? What area?
Well, I grew up in northwest London in Mill Hill.
Wow.
That's lovely.
It was quite nice. It was a bit of a secluded. It wasn't. No, I didn't grow up in a gated community, but we weren't a through road. So that sort of depends where you live. But yeah, sorry, you were saying.
So at the moment, nobody lets their children go outside and play.
I think
people
that's
are less
changed
likely.
a lot. Yeah,
in the UK, in London.
Not just UK. I think it's across. It's also Portugal as well. My where I live, children play outside. Actually, I see them outside more often. Of course, it's very safe, but
Of course, it's very safe.
just to see that.
It's really safe.
It's gated.
You need a code to get in there.
No, but they
The
play outside.
playground is in the community.
No, they play outside.
You need a
The whole
code to get in the
area.
playground. So.
And you know it's safe because you see them do trick or treating,
Halloween.
Yeah, Halloween, and you see all the
They do that in the ends too.
Do they?
Oh, 100%.
By
That's
themselves?
the opportunity to make money.
Really? How? How do they make money in this? But we'll get there after. But yeah.
What do you mean? Because the poorer communities don't have money?
No.
No, they get the chocolate and the sweets and then they'll be selling it on the playground the next day.
Yeah, that's another one.
Hassling. I like that.
Yeah, I'd like that too, actually.
Yeah, one of my kids would learn. But yeah, let's go.
So, no, you're right in terms of being raised and playing. We used to play out on the street a lot.
100%.
But what Anna said is actually true. Like I think we say it a lot in different walks of life. I was raised this way.
Yeah.
You know, so that's
how,
why I'm like this.
Yeah.
But when does that start becoming an obstacle?
It becomes like a justification
people?
for you to do certain things, whether they're good or bad. It's just the way I grew up. It's just the way my mum taught me.
That's if you're consciously utilising that term. Sometimes you just say it in jest.
Yeah.
You're just saying it freely. Oh, that's just the way I grew up. Or that's what my mum taught me. But if you're actively thinking about using that word, then I think that's when it's...
Let's make it a little bit more focused then. So if you were to smack your children, I did that topic in Good Morning Britain last year, where people say it's okay to smack your children. It's fine. I mean, that's the way we grew up. Most of us on our time used to get smacked when we misbehaved.
I got beat weekly.
And then, me too, maybe.
Yeah.
But the reason, and that's the way we grew up. And that's when I spoke to my dad a few months ago, I said, like, you know, you used to smack us a lot. And he was like, but he said, you didn't get nowhere near what I used to get. And that's the way I grew up.
So there's levels though to it. Yeah. So he used to get real beats.
Yeah.
Anna got the slaps.
My mum denies it. My mum says I didn't even hit you.
Yeah, my mum's like that.
What?
I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Yeah.
I remember. It's trauma.
I've got the pain.
What is it? Is it trauma or is it tradition?
That's trauma for me.
No, but I think it's a traditional thing.
It's a traditional thing.
It is like... I mean, we never really got beats, but I know my dad used to threaten getting the belt and those things. So it was always a threat. I don't think he ever... I see him have one sort of near fight with my brother, but there was never hands. But I think that's also my mum's
Well, your
influence.
dad almost
My
had a
mum's
fight with your
Scottish.
brother?
Yeah. A big argument.
But you know what? I think the question's valid, and I think the question is a really good question in terms of, is it tradition or trauma, and how much of trauma is tradition? Because beatings are actually traumatic, whether you like it or not. So the fact that it continues down the lineage and becomes tradition doesn't mean that the trauma don't exist.
Absolutely.
especially if it's being passed on. It's still a trauma.
It's just a trauma that's being passed
on, right?
Yeah,
but then we're justifying it as and coating it over and saying it's tradition.
Yeah.
Which is, for me, where it's wrong.
I think back to the question we've started on is, when does it stop being an explanation, start being an obstacle? Well, now, in my life right now, and in your life, we can't be beating kids. So that tradition and trauma is now an obstacle. Because...
I mean...
Cut.
What do you mean? I mean,
no, but you see what I mean? Because now, if I beat my child, if I was getting beats and then I beat my child, it's 2026 now.
Absolutely.
He's going to be, I'm pretty confident, the only child in preschool just getting beats. So that's what I'm saying. It's now become an obstacle.
I've got a counter argument to that. Do we think or feel that? Remember the beatings when they were going through the generations. If you really think about your friends and how you grew up, I would definitely say some of it was just. And if I look at my group that I grew up
just
with,
to beat them up,
it was justified that I needed a beating. Or,
Okay.
or discipline.
Definitely.
Let's call it discipline because beating just sounds like I got beat up. I didn't get beat up. I got disciplined.
Yeah.
Get the belt out, slap on the bum.
but there are different ways to discipline people, to discipline children. Full
No,
stop.
but what I'm saying is back then, the way we were so unruly, cheeky, rude, back mouth, all of that.
Right.
You don't really get that much from the children today at that same age group, at that same age. It might be a little bit more cheeky, but it's cheeky with banter.
But is that gentle parenting? Is that because the way of parenting has changed?
We softened.
I think
so. Maybe actually, there you go. So you were getting beats, was because you were getting, maybe because the discipline was harsh.
Yeah.
I don't know, did you act up in a certain way to react to that?
100%.
Whereas now they're not doing that because
maybe the teachings are different. So when you have kids and they're really young, maybe the way you're bringing them up is slightly different, and it's a different environment that they're in. So we've got, remember, we've all grown up in different generations of time, right? We've all grown up in different generations.
Yeah, some of us are a bit
No,
old.
we've all. Well, I can see your grace. But no, real talk. No, if we real talk though, there's different generations of time, right?
Yeah.
There's times where playing out was safe, super
Yeah.
safe. You can go out on the streets, play out.
Yeah.
And then you've got the modern day where the kids are now more inside and they've got more digital products to play with.
Yeah.
So their social aspects might be suffering. But because they're in all the time and you're telling them to do this, that, and that around the house, the discipline and the architectural structure of how they're growing is different.
Yeah, I would agree.
Because you're closer to them, right?
You're closer to them.
Yeah.
So your discipline changes because your discipline could be purely and simply words, and they're watching your behaviour. If they're out on the streets, they're learning from so many different people.
Which
Correct.
is what you said, being out more
Yeah.
than our kids are now. Yeah, it's true.
So the discipline changes, right? Because now, me going out in the streets and I can be rude with my friends, I've come home and thought I could do that same rudeness to a Jamaican parent. No, you can't.
Yeah, no, I can imagine. Well, I can't imagine, but...
No, you can't. Do you know what I mean? And,
Yeah.
and being at home, if I was at home with the Jamaican parent, well, I'd be disciplined. And I wouldn't have that idea of thinking what I could get away with because I've learnt from different cultures.
Well, then here's one. What is, on this topic, I hear you and actually agree completely. But thinking about this topic, when does the idea of, I was thinking on the way in, I'll do the opposite of what my parents did. So when we're talking about tradition and being raised, how much of how you're raised, we're raised, do you then start rebelling in a way against that? And then what impact does that have on your relationships? So it's tradition and trauma, but the way you're raised, you start rebelling against that.
Yes.
And ultimately that could end up...
Yeah, I'll give you an example. When I was growing up, there's a friend I used to skip school. It was just like for a phase of about a month, I think. It was,
Is this in the UK?
No, Portugal.
Okay.
Was easily addressed by my dad with a beat that, when he found out, when the teacher told him. But because they kept me inside, because my dad was really strict, I had to be indoors constantly. And he didn't really like me having loads of girlfriends or male friends. He didn't like, he said people shouldn't have loads of friendships.
Just don't have friends.
It's just like one or two. You can't have lots of those. So he kept me so, I felt caged that when I was outside,
Bubble wrapped.
I was, bubble wrapped.
You were free when you were outside.
Yeah, but then I started skipping school because I couldn't, and unless I was during the school period, I couldn't go out with my friends and spend time with them. So I thought, let me utilize the school period to have some fun.
He was bunking.
Yeah. for a month.
I think you deserved your beat.
My mom said I deserved my beats, but it was really harsh. But yeah, I didn't do it again.
But is that your father's? That is obviously your father's trauma from somewhere.
Yeah.
Or tradition.
Trying to protect me.
Trauma.
Yeah,
where
trauma.
he didn't want Anna to be out there. So you're passing these things down, which is like the topic of the
But
conversation
then I rebelled
today.
against
But
that.
are you the only
I was trying
one?
to find ways. I was
Yeah,
trying
yeah,
to
of
find
course.
to escape.
Are you the only child?
No,
at the time?
I'm the first.
At the time.
Yeah, first.
So you was the only child at the
No,
time?
no, no.
So you still had
my brothers were younger.
so your brothers were still there?
Yeah, I was in my teens.
But you was the only female?
Yeah, I'm the only female.
So that is trauma for me, because somewhere in his timeline of trauma,
Yeah,
as
girls.
a female, he's looked at the female and thought, I've got to protect her.
Yeah, that's what I
Yeah.
mean. So, and that's what we're talking about today, right? Is how do you, in terms of relationships, which is the topic we're on at the moment.
Actually, I get it. I understand.
How-
Now that you said that, I get why.
But that's
I can see
becoming
why.
ingrained in you. Now, interestingly,
I tried to
how do you
escape.
feel that? How do you feel with your daughter? Talking on a similar context, is she allowed to go
And have fun with her friends.
with her friends?
Yeah.
Have you ever struggled with that?
No.
Was she
Okay,
born
interesting.
hair?
Yeah.
So that might be a change as well, because when you're a hair now,
Mm.
you've obviously probably shaped
Adjusted.
and adjusted to
Yeah,
UK.
I did. I came when I was
social
17, so I've
cues, cultures.
adjusted. So she goes out as long as I know she's safe. I can drop her off and it's fine.
And then the other thing was she born after you found career success or prior? Prior when you were struggling.
Yeah.
That's interesting too.
That is an interesting topic. Yes.
But another
because-
tradition is you guys do sleepovers, right? Which is something that I accept.
Why did you put it the white guy?
I said you guys. I said
I'm
British.
trying to work out where you're going with this. You guys.
British.
Yeah, no,
But
okay.
white British are more likely to do it.
No. This is very true. I have a good story about this. My very good friend, Nigerian friend, yeah. I knew his mum very well. His mum sort of knew my mum.
Yeah.
He came to my house one day. He's playing over. We're like 14, 15. We're messing around, and then it's like 9, 10 o'clock. He calls his mum. I'm safe. I'm fine. And then he just assumed he was staying at my house, which my mum and my dad were totally cool with.
He assumed. He didn't ask his mum.
No, no, he didn't. So this was like my learning
Well,
about a
Nigerian
new
not
culture.
asking his mum.
What?
Lord God.
My mum fed him everything like
Yeah.
he's part of the family.
He's going left for him.
Midnight comes.
Yeah.
His mum's at my door.
Yeah,
Of course.
Straight.
You're crazy. She was going mad.
He's
Like,
Nigerian.
how dare you stay at someone else's home?
And he had dinner. Imagine she's probably cooked dinner for him as well.
He's like, well, what's the problem? Like, you know
swear.
that I'm safe here. Like,
Yeah,
I'm
my
good.
ethnic
and
minority- he
That's
must be-
tradition, though, right? That's a traditional
I've got
thing.
two
Must be.
ethnic-
I think what
minorities.
happened to him, if I could speak for him, is he was from a Nigerian household which was very tough, and he went to his white friend's house and thought, "Wow,
I know, right? When I spend time with my
He's
white
like,
friends, I'll be like, I like you guys.
I love you guys.
I want to stay here.
You're not getting beats. No.
You guys you tell your mom to shut up. Or your mom, please be
Whoa,
quiet.
we don't do that. Wait a minute. I can
Back in
have
the days.
snacks. I can get snacks.
I get what?
After 6.
Disclaimer:
Sleepovers.
I never told my mum to shut up. Okay.
Wow. No, it was different. It was
It
like that.
was a lot
though.
more freedom.
No,
you
but-
could speak up more.
Yeah.
There was
Yeah,
more
you
opening. I
could
think
answer
This,
back.
this
A
is
little bit.
interesting. This is tradition, and like, you know.
But to this day, I've got a friend. She said that she's like, no, Ugandans, we don't do sleepovers. And as a younger girl, she's one of our paralegals. She looked at me and was like, no, it's not a thing. We don't do sleepovers.
but is that the
and I
same
was like,
with-
because I allow my child to sleep over.
Is that the same with the boys though? The males in the
that's a good point. I need to find out. Were you allowed to sleep over?
100%. But
Really?
but then my street, I had my god brother 4 doors away from me, and my best friend was 4 doors away from me either side, and it was just one road. So either way, we're just there.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we grew up from.
That's calm.
From
So is that
everything.
tradition or is it more tradition and trauma?
I think that's my parents adjusting to the UK way of life because
Yeah. Were they
they've
born here?
They're parents of the they're children of the Windrush generation.
Were they
but
born here?
in the Caribbean.
Oh, they were in the Caribbean.
So,
okay.
but they still travelled over after their
what
parents.
age?
They were young. They're probably teenagers. Young teenagers.
They adapted well then.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So they probably.
But is that tradition or
that
trauma?
might be UK tradition because if you're saying that countries or friends of yours from other countries.
Yeah, we don't do sleepovers in
Don't do
Portugal.
it, then-
And we don't eat at strangers' house. But I think that's more of a black thing.
I mean, that's a black. That's a
and South
black.
Asians as well. They say they don't eat. South Asians as well. So my friend South Asians just said that they don't eat at people's house.
That's tradition.
It's
And
definitely tradition because I really enjoy eating at my black friend's house.
That's tradition.
I just enjoy food. I eat anywhere.
Flavour.
Yeah, no, but you see, I'm looking, but it's true. I'm looking at the food like at my other people's house, and I'm like, I don't know.
It's the total opposite.
I'm not involved.
Mum told me about that one.
What is this?
Yeah. We're not
are you
talking,
making?
Anna, we're not talking now. We're talking when we were children.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's strange.
Interesting. What about honouring? So is honouring your upbringing the same as repeating it?
You tell me.
Well, I'm
That's a
very
good
much.
one.
I'd say I'm quite. My mum and dad were quite traditional in terms of my dad was like the breadwinner, worker, 6 days a week, and then mum raised the children.
Yeah.
My mum did work. She worked a couple of days a week, and she did some work for my dad. Now, actually, I'm very much the same.
Yeah.
And I think it's a good if you can
So
make
you're
it
honouring.
happen financially. It's a good way to live. I'd rather my missus is raising my son. I mean, at the end of the day, the other financial element is if she goes and earns 40,000 a year and nursery costs £1,800 a month, you know, there's a fine balance from that element. But traditionally, I would say that honouring that I'm probably raising my son and building my family the way that I was raised.
Could that be also seen as misogynistic?
Depends.
It depends on the 100%.
No, based on
no, in my situation, definitely not because we're a team, so you know we respect each other's roles. You know, believe it or not, like
what do you mean? What roles?
Well, my food roles.
You raise my son,
No.
We have roles in this house.
Just make sure dinner's there when I get home.
I am a present father, and dinner is ready when I get home. But that's a respect thing, isn't it? So actually, this is an interesting conversation. Yeah. Like, in this day and age of like, and I completely admire women focusing more on careers, and you know, ultimately there being a bit of a drain in babies being born because females in careers. I think it's fantastic, but I happen to be with a girl in a traditional situation.
So it works for you, really.
Yeah, it works. And I think
that's synergy. That's good synergy.
Yeah, so we've
And I
got
think
that
she
mutual
liked it
respect.
as well.
Yeah,
Is it fair to say that?
At the end of the day, like,
she
I
wanted
mean,
that.
so my partner was a childminder and nanny, as you know. So why am I going to... She's going to get paid to look after someone else's kids.
Yeah.
When she can raise and teach my kids.
But that's her natural...
Yeah, I was going to say,
natural
inclination is to be
Definitely.
childbearing, isn't it?
But we like that. And so back to the question of, is honouring your upbringing the same as repeating it? You know,
Is it the same as repeating?
I kind of admire the time that we had with my mum growing up. Like, definitely. She was present. Whereas a lot of my friends didn't see their mum 9 to 5 from the age of 4.
Yeah.
You know,
I didn't really.
Yeah, and that's completely natural, right?
Yeah.
And like we weren't in a situation where my dad was earning millions of pounds. Like he was earning, I'd say, more than your average, but we didn't. You know, we had one family holiday a year. It wasn't like we were living lavishly. I mean, don't get me wrong, that is, you know, one family holiday a year is a good thing, but it was just his way of like, no, you take care of the kids.
Yeah.
I'm going to take care of making sure we're fine. And I think that is
I think that's
for
perfect.
me, it's a good way to live if you can make it happen. Don't get me wrong.
I think that's the key, if you can make it happen.
Yeah.
Because when I grew up, it wasn't that. It was both my parents were working. Often I'd come home from school and have to go to my godbrother's house, which is 4 doors away, and be in his house because one of his parents was home. Mm-hmm. But then my parents would come and pick me up about 6.
Yeah.
Dinner's ready. So then I go back home, do a little bit of homework, and then I'm in bed with my brother, like back to bed, brother, and then that's it, sleep and repeat the process. Yeah. Did I have a holiday a year? No. But what I was fortunate of is my mum, she was a coordinator of a youth centre.
Yeah.
So every summer you have summer camp.
Yeah.
And summer camp, you can go to the Margates and all that, all the theme parks, bunch of friends, and you're playing for 6 weeks. So it offsetted the idea of I'm missing out on a holiday because I had a great summer playing with my friends.
But how has that shaped you as a man?
I think that gave me freedom
as you've grown.
That's what I was going to say. I think it gave me freedom just to be myself and just enjoy life and explore. But then in terms of honouring it, I don't think that the times now the youth centres are all shut down, I can't honour it that way.
Yeah.
And they're more expensive. That was free back then.
No, but now, being present with your kids.
But that's what it is. I can be present, but then I suppose the flip side of it is I've also fallen into the work trap.
And the flip side of mine is that I guess whilst explaining my mum and dad's situation, he wasn't present. Like he actually worked from home a lot, but he was stuck in his office.
He's still not present.
He's not present.
But you were present.
So, that's it. So whilst I'm saying like replicated what my mum and dad did, actually no, I've changed my dad's part of it to make sure that I'm more present for Charlie, my son, which is hard though.
He learns. He's done really well. So he evolved from that. He became a better version of potentially of what you wanted at that time.
But remember, your dad passed away, right?
Yeah.
How much impact did that have in shifting that mindset?
Absolutely.
Yeah, most certainly. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, I think my dad's idea was that at some point he would retire and then spend more time with his kids once they were of age. So my thing is, well, I've got this mental. I think on the first show I was on with you guys, I'm dying at 50. Like it's a thing we did with our charity, and you know, most adults, my dad died at 50.
Yeah.
So mentally for you, that becomes your death age.
That's your benchmark.
So you've got my father-in-law. He's almost like a dad to me. He's a good friend of mine. He lost his mum when he was 20. I think his mum, I'm not sure, 40 to 50 in that age range. And I remember we had a conversation over some beers, and he said, no, actually interesting. I've never spoken to anyone about this, David, but I was the same. When I got to 45 years old, whatever the age his mum died was, he was thinking,
I'm gonna die.
Like, no, I've made it. Like, you
kind of have to get past that threshold.
Yeah, you
right?
get past that threshold of that age. So, bit off context there, but no, you're right. I think that shapes your way of thinking.
Your age to a calendar.
Yeah, it probably shaped the way you was being present, right?
But back to that, it's I think you honouring it. I think we're built based on how we're raised. That's completely natural because. What age does the front lobe develop completely? What age is...
What is it, 7 years, right? 7, 14, 21.
I thought it was 21.
20 to 25, whatever it is.
25,
In those, and especially now, actually, interestingly, all our kids are going to be living at home a lot longer. So they're going to be under the influence of us for a lot longer.
Yeah. That's a face. I love the idea.
What about you?
I just realised that I have actually completely imitated my mom on how I am with my kids, and so I'm not very present as I could be. I'm working on it now. I'm just in the house, but still working the whole time.
So you're like David's dad.
I'm in the house, but then the kids come to me. They've learned that mommy is always working, so they come and play around me.
Do you see them as bothering you though?
Do they bother me? No.
Yeah, when they're playing around you.
No.
Do you wish, guys, I wish you'd go play in the other room? Like
sometimes I tell them to go play in the other room. But
that depends on the work you're doing.
If I'm making a call or not. But
it makes for her.
No, but it makes me feel guilty actually, because they feel like, if she doesn't come to me, let me go to her. That's what I feel.
But that's what's happening there.
Yeah, because they're coming to me
for your attention.
Yeah, so they and they're like, "Mommy, can we watch a movie?" And I'm doing US hours some days, most often now. And then they're like, "Oh," and I said, "Yeah, let's do bath time and then this movie." And I think I'm doing in the evening, sort of rush.
How do you think you can combat that though?
It's painful.
I need to be like David.
No.
Having
I'm
the
not
conscious
perfect.
changes.
I'm not perfect with that.
It's not like being like David. It's about how you think 100%. You can combat it.
I need to
Based on
consciously.
what
We've spoken about this.
So it's like
you just need to stop sometimes.
You need to give it out. Yeah, you need to make that time.
But is it an addiction? Do you feel like
it's an addiction?
Of course it is.
Oh God.
Entrepreneurialism, your mindset, you're wired again through traditional trauma.
Yeah, my mum was always working.
Want the best for what's around you.
Correct.
But then, is that the answer?
No.
Before you know it, your kids will be 21, 25, going to uni, and your house will be empty.
You don't have kids no more.
You don't have them.
You don't have kids.
What do we raise our kids for?
To work in society.
To let them go.
To let them go.
So that's something I think about all the time. It makes me feel guilty because I'm pretending I'm perfect with the balance. I'm not. There's certain times I could do bath time and bedtime.
Whatever that is though, isn't it?
Yeah, but he's pretty good.
It's good enough for him right now, and he knows he can be better.
Yeah, there's guilt there still, definitely. Yeah. But then it's just life. Anyone who's watching this and everyone in this room knows that it's hard out there.
It's hard balancing.
Want the best, and you're doing everything so that you and yours can have the best, but you're suffering, and that's again
sacrificing
tradition. I guess with me, it's like my dad taught us how to work. That's why me and my brother are workers. To be blunt, like we love working because my dad was a worker. So that it's trauma or tradition, I don't know, but it's ingrained in us. And so because I told you when I first met you, it was like £10 to go out, £5 to go out, fine, but you're washing my car tomorrow, you're cutting the grass in the garden. There was, I told you made me drive all the way home from the basketball court to put the plate in the dishwasher that I left out.
Yeah,
like those things.
Real bad.
After he died, and as
Real
I got
bad
of
man.
age, real bad man.
Really bad.
I'm like, those lessons were actually so important. When I thought you were stupid at the time, like those little things. That's the tradition but it's so hard to escape that when you have a child, and you see all these Instagram reels. Those ones where they're like, I'm 40 years old, or I'm 50 years old, and if you're 30 and you're watching this, I want to tell you something. Your kids will grow up so fast. It's just true. Like,
so then is that, like back in the days, our parents used to be like, mental illness wasn't a thing, right? You just get on with it. Yeah, we just normalized.
You were the naughty person in class, basically.
Yeah. You don't.
Well, diagnosing.
Why diagnose a child? And I've spoken to an American friend. He said, "Why diagnose? Why there are so many diagnoses? Is it to pump more drugs into our children? Because it could be a child that just doesn't like listening, just doesn't like it. It's okay not to like it.
It's labeling, isn't it?
Yeah." It starts the labeling process. Do you think, is that something that we should be moving into? Is it?
I think,
because we're moving away from tradition of get on with it. Oh, you're sick. Oh, you're okay. Just go to school.
So I watched I watched the documentary.
Are we normalising pain?
No, I watched the documentary the other day, and it was called Trauma, just to touch on the subject. And it was about people who had family members that have died, that have passed away, some in police custody, and some people went to prison based on the misdiagnosing of the individuals.
Interesting.
Right? So again, like and one of them was like, back in the 70s, we'd just call that person mad and leave the mad person on the road. But if we could identify what their mental health challenge was, we could have got them help sooner, and then the community could have protected them better when they had episodes of schizophrenia or whatever.
Unfortunately.
So when you're saying, shall we just, is that labeling? Well, I can't say yes, because
we should diagnose. We should find out.
If you could diagnose, then they could potentially get help sooner in their process.
But you just
I'm not saying it in the sense of, well, you put them in the system and then they get hindered.
No, you have a good point there.
If the system or the private system is good enough, or the system is good enough anyway, it should actually be able to help and aid them so they don't feel isolated, because some people feel isolated based on their mental challenges.
Yeah, I've noticed that traditionally, especially my island, where it's a tiny island in Africa, the mental illness is not a thing. Someone being crazy is either they witches to this day, or or mental illness is not a thing unless the person's, the person would have to be visibly, unwell and walking around in the streets or talking
naked or something like that.
For them to say, oh, okay, that person is unwell.
They need to be
unless it gets to that stage, that person is fine.
Or unless it's
okay.
a hereditary.
That's the next thing.
Traditional thing.
You're talking about ADHD, anxiety stuff, and so on and so forth. You're not saying schizophrenia or bipolar. That's the ones that they're looking at like, no, that's a madness. Because you can see it.
Yeah. Unless it's visible to the naked eye.
I mean, autism or ADHD, cancel me if you want, but I think that it's actually not going to be that rogue, but I think influence what kids are watching on telly. There's a lot about screen time and young children and flashy, very fast-moving things.
Objects,
that is having a big impact. E-numbers in food, I think, is a massive... I think scientifically, if it's not proven already, because I'm not an expert in this, there will be proof that what you're feeding your child, if you raise your child on home-cooked good food for the first 5 to 10 years of their life with veg, 5 a day, everything, compared to a kid that is raised on turkey dinosaurs, I genuinely believe that you'll see a difference in their cognitive development.
Remember the turkey dinosaur kids?
Sounds dry. It sounds so dry.
You never had a turkey dinosaur? Have you ever had a chicken Kiev?
Yeah.
Mums go to Iceland.
You know, you cut it in half and then the garlic sauce drains out the chicken Kiev.
No, homemade one.
Fresh out of Iceland in the oven, man.
Was it good?
Iceland.
It was lit.
Iceland. Mums go to Iceland.
Should I go and buy it today and find out?
No, don't.
No,
Don't. Please don't.
You don't do that. But my point, I think diet, screen time, those things... I think you're born... Autism is a different thing to ADHD.
The spectrum.
And of course, there's a huge different spectrum of autism, which I believe, having a close family member who's extremely autistic...
And that's another thing, extremes.
He's extremely autistic, but he comes from a family line of autistic people. So it's evidently in his situation, whether fact or not, hereditary.
Well, they do try and say that everybody's autistic to some degree.
Yeah.
I mean,
You're on a
everybody
spectrum,
believes I
isn't
am
it?
somewhere.
Yeah. So it's just
Hyper-focus.
that I think what you're saying is the extreme cases, which are the ones where you're like, okay. But again, some of that is tradition as well.
Yeah, it's
some of
true.
that does fall in line with tradition, like how you feed your children and so on and so forth. Because you're going to look at some parents are looking at the way they were fed growing up, and they might not have the means to do it.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
they will do
Yeah.
what they can just to make sure the child's eating.
Sadly, some adults these days in current times are not eating so that their kids can eat. It's just
That
it's
is
crazy.
really sad.
It's
Yeah.
really crazy.
Yeah.
A bit off topic, but I was reading an article the other day about the average. I believe this is true, and I'm going to fact check this, but the average poverty line in the UK for a family of 4 is £30,000 a year. That's like the poverty line.
I think I saw that actually.
£30,000 a year for a household of, so 2 adults, mum, dad, 2 kids. 30k a year. So
For the whole household.
for the whole household. That is, but actually, what's interesting is that has been a statistic on paper, I think, for about 15 to 20 years, meaning it's not actually adjusted with inflation and
So
the
I
way
see
things
things
are.
like now.
So actually, I think now this economist that wrote this article sort of translated it into current times 15, 20 years later from that original statistic. It's about 70,000. So it is
you earn
essentially suggesting
70,000
that as a joint household couple with 2 kids in the United Kingdom or in
35,000 each.
65k
you're earning
to
70k, yeah.
70,000.
And I'm not going to lie, I kind of get it because I know a lot of households doing that with 2 kids who are fucking struggling.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's just maybe we'll talk about that another time. It's just
That's
interesting.
interesting.
That's also in London, right?
Yeah, I'd say it's probably inside the M25.
Yeah, but surely 70,000 outside of London, you're a lot more comfortable, right?
Well, you say that, but
Cost of living still cost
I
of
mean,
living.
the coffee still costs the same as it does in that Costa as it does in Milton Keynes Costa,
Right.
I guess. Well,
Yeah, so it would
Cost of living is
Sainsbury's
cost of living.
or Tesco's would cost the same anyway.
technically
It's just the housing and
the housing, of course,
yeah,
is
would be
rent,
much cheaper.
those sorts of things. In terms of, I was also thinking about what about relationships,
Right.
personal husband-wife, husband-husband, wife-wife relationships or other.
I like the way you went through that.
Sorry, I am politically correct.
Yeah.
love that.
But yeah, what about relationships? Talking about tradition and trauma in that regard.
Right.
How does that have an influence? For example, a lot of couples have an argument and there'll be the situation of you need to do more.
Yeah.
What if you don't know more because of tradition or trauma? Something you were
That's
taught and built. I don't know
true.
more.
That's true. And
You
what's
could
more
have-
for you could be different for
Raised in a single parent
subject-
household.
You could
That's
have
subjective, isn't it?
and you
More.
could have mixed races, mixed heritage, right? And then you've got to bring up the child, and then the
Interracial relationship. And-
yeah.
Yeah,
And
interesting.
the child might have black hair, and the mother might not be able to braid the hair
Afro hair,
or comb
yeah.
the hair because
Yeah.
Afro hair. You're having an argument over that. Why is the child looking like this? Why don't you do it? I can't do it. My mum used to do it for me, but you got all of that going on. I suppose there's so many different factors of.
But when you mean
challenges.
more, it's like, what is more? Like having
when you say
the
no,
house
that was more
clean.
of just an example of like
an
what you do
example.
more. It's because that's a common argument, right? It's the first
Yeah,
thing that came
the
off
house
my
clean.
head.
What do you
Doesn't
mean,
happen
sir?
in my household. We don't
But
say that to each other.
to be fair, that is a common statement that you'd probably find.
What house clean?
It's- no,
Having
it's
the house
not- no.
clean.
He's just talking about in relationships, right?
Yeah, yeah.
That-
What is more?
You
though?
could do more. You could be more of a mother, father. You could be
Whatever
more
it is.
around
You
the
can always
house.
be more, though.
You could earn more money. So,
Yeah.
But when that cut,
But what is that more?
I'm asking.
The
that-
question,
Yeah,
your
it's subjective.
question. No, but that's his point.
Yeah.
So I could see it as more, and then you're challenging me about what is more, and then me and you are arguing over more.
Or sometimes I could ask you to give me something that you don't know. You never had it.
Because that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Tradition,
Yeah.
trauma, which is the context of today.
Yeah.
Why? Well, I never saw.
Love
I'm from a
languages.
single.
Yeah, love
parent
languages,
household. So
yeah.
I've never seen love. I've never seen my mum be in a relationship with a man, for example. So
Yeah.
why do you expect me,
Yeah.
as your partner, to
To know how to love you.
Yeah.
Because you don't have example of that.
Or I do love you, and this is the way that I know, because of like what you're saying.
Yeah,
that's my example.
but then
So-
that brings conflict, isn't it? Because I grew up in a household where maybe our parents
and
didn't show, they didn't do any affection.
teach
right?
me, show me how to love.
Yeah. It's love language, isn't it? It's receptive differently. We all learned that recently, right? This love language. I think when I was growing up, I didn't even heard of that. It's just become like a 5 years, 7 year thing that I've seen it. Oh, love language. My love language is gifting. My love language is
social media.
Words of affirmation.
And all that transitioned a lot of
stuff that I don't take too seriously.
Traditional trauma. Thank you guys. Yeah.